Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a very special episode of Rocket Lab Weekly. This is episode number 52, which means that we have been doing one straight year, not missing a week, Rocket Lab Weekly every week. So, so today we have Matt here with us, who's practically a co-host of the show. And we also have Scotto, who is a very valuable member of the group and has contributed a lot to the Rocket Lab community. And we have all of you guests here already in the comment section. So thank you so much for being here and supporting the show. Yeah, how was everyone's week? What happened with you guys this week?
A whole lot with Rocket Lab.
Yeah. Well, yeah, firstly, thank you for having me on again. It's always a good time to be here. It's been a fun week. I was flying across I don't know if it's across the Atlantic or across the Arctic. I really don't know how the flight path works, but I was flying back home yesterday, and it was nice to land. And I thought my phone was reporting in some other foreign currency because I didn't expect to see the $9 price tag when I landed. And actually, before I landed, it was up around the $10 range. So congrats to everyone. It's been a lot of fun to watch, and it'll be continuously fun for the next 10 years, probably, to be able to watch.
Been a good time overall for space stocks. I mean, the ones that have endured the storm.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy where we go from here because it's so interesting that when something falls so much after the SPAC, like Rocket Lab, that it falls 80% or like 70%, then even when it like doubles and triples in price from the low point, like we're still basically just at the IPO the IPO price. So there is a lot of room to go from here. Cool. As this is the 1 year episode, Scotto was so kind that he prepared a little section for us. So fire away, Scott.
Sure. So PSA to the audience, this segment is going to end with a cheers. So if you don't have a drink already, this is your 5-minute warning, give or take. So for this segment, I wanted to provide a recap of Rocket Lab's performance over the past year, followed by a few questions for these gentlemen, kind of reflecting on how things have been over the past year since starting the show. So at the time that you guys started Rocket Lab Weekly, Rocket Lab was trading at $4.50. As of yesterday, Rocket Lab closed at $9.78, marking a 117% increase year over year. Within that same period, what we're going to use is the end of Q3 2023, compared to what we're expecting for Q3 expectations for 2024. Rocket Lab's headcount has increased by 28%, with Space Systems revenue growth at 76% and total revenue growing at 52%. Also within the same period, Rocket Lab has expanded into SailGP's manufacturing facility in New Zealand, and also what was formerly Lockheed Martin's vertical launch building in Middle River, Maryland. Finally, a number of contracts were also announced during the period. We have Victus Hayes, SCP-30, the 10-launch bulk order with Synspective, the recently signed 4 launches with the confidential Constellation customer, several new Hayes contracts, and of course, the SDA Tranche 2 award. So Vint, starting with you, when you guys think about the past year, what are some of the highlights that stick out to you, whether it is your favorite contract, favorite episode, favorite moments, etc.?
For me, it has to be the SDA contract as number one, because that came out of nowhere. For me, at least, I was definitely not expecting that. It happened over Christmas. It made for a very nice Christmas with my dad. And the second close one is the hot fire test of the Archimedes engine. And it's kind of controversial right now to say this, but I believe it happened, and I believe it's all good. And I feel that it was so long in the making, and it was delayed and delayed and delayed, and then it finally happened. And I think that that's what led to the recent rally.
For me, what do I think of the last year has been the best? I think just the validation of everything that we kind of have been talking about for quite some time, right? And really just acknowledging that we're not just blowing smoke here, right? We're not just some hype sort of company that's really trying to I guess get people to invest for the sake of it, right? And to try to pump our bags and dump. Like, we're here for the long term. The company is also really building pivotal points within their business cycle and really trying to hit home. A company that can be built for the long term. And so I think that we've been able to demonstrate that, or the company's been able to demonstrate that. And it's been a lot of fun watching from the sidelines, being able to interview Adam and Peter twice now, Adam once. And so it's getting their insights and being able to hear them in person, but ask better questions than even the analysts do on the earnings call. And also be able to collaborate with you, Scott, Dave, and Vince, and really, I think that was probably the highlight to me was, even though it was a quick turnaround, a lot of fun to be able to spitball ideas, because we're able to see each other's perspectives and catch things that others might not, and all of us have different, I guess, things that we're really excited about the company for. And so that, I think, was the highlight to me over the past year, was really being able to collaborate with you guys on that.
Cool. And what are some of the biggest challenges over the past year in putting the show together?
Oh, in putting the show together, Matt is always freaking late. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I mean, this show has been quite because Rocket Lab is special in many ways, because for example, I was bullish on other companies also, and let's say, like, you take Enphase, which is a solar panel company. Like, it's impossible to do Enphase weekly because there's just nothing happening. Like, you cannot do a weekly, like, yeah, they installed another 150 houses this week, and it rained on one, and yeah. So I mean, I really like doing this because, like, you guys are great, like, all the new friendships, and there is news all the time. So I think I never had this, that I had to do a Rocket Lab weekly and it's like, shit, nothing happened. What are we going to talk about? Like, we have to, yeah, it's been very exciting for me the whole year.
Cool. Matt?
I normally just show up. Vince is the one that always comes up with the hard ideas, so I have to give a shout out to him. I mean, I don't know. I show up probably 80% of the time, and 80% of the time of that is normally late, like Vince mentioned. So, yeah, it's normally Vince putting on the good show, and I know I think it deserves a lot of kudos, because I know what it's like preparing thumbnails and StreamYard and the thanklessness of putting it together. So to make it easy for me to just show up, whenever I have the availability, is really, really awesome. And so just big shout out to Vince for that, because 52 weeks in a row is really impressive, and most people quit, right? And I think it just demonstrates the value that people are getting, because I'm sure there's 37 people watching on my channel, and I'm sure there's probably twice as much, if not 3 times as much, on Vince's. And Scott, I know you have a good following as well. So anyway, yeah, 87 people watching on Vince's channel right now. So I mean, 100 people at least are out here excited for the 52nd episode, which most of the time you get a nice hype, people see what it's all about, and it slowly starts to trickle off. And I think we've been on a steady incline. So goes to show what value Vince is bringing to the table.
For sure. And where do you guys see the show going over the next year? Like, what do you plan to either keep the same, or what do you plan to do different?
That's a good question. I mean, I definitely want to yeah, I was gonna say, like, I want to have more guests from the space industry, but that's not necessarily weekly. Like, it's more on the channel. I mean, I really like how the show is, like, how the format is. So I don't necessarily want to change something. If there is suggestions from the audience how to make it better, I take it. I don't know if Matt, I
never have any complaints. Yeah, I don't have any complaints about the show. I mean, I think one of the things that I lack is probably I could prepare a little bit more. I could try and add a little bit more. I know Vince generally is the one that's driving, so in that respect, could be tough. But I think Melanie hit the nail on the head. I think next year is going to be a lot of excitement, a lot of news coming in. And I think with the recent stock price as well, it'll hopefully be a lot of volatility that I think will show up as well in the stock front. But in terms of the company front, I think that piece is kind of already planned out for us, right? There's a lot to potentially be had. Neutron launch, the remaining activities that need to be happening, like the whole integrated wet fire test, everything of the like, and also potentially profitability, right? I'm curious to see if we get it by the fourth quarter of this year, if not 1Q of 2020. Sorry, not fourth quarter this year, fourth quarter of 2025, meaning, and in 1Q of 2026. It's kind of the spot that I'm looking at for profitability to kind of eke in the right direction. So we'll see, man. There's a lot. I'm curious if we get even one launch off next year, but I'm hoping for two. I don't know why I'd be hoping for two, but I'm hoping for 2 Neutron launches next year somehow, some way. But yeah, I think in terms of things change, I think we're adaptable, and we like to. I don't think there's a set in stone sort of way that we host the show. I think there's always a flexibility around it depending on what's going on.
Cool.
I have an idea. I just thought of this. So I saw glasses on Amazon that was $100 that is programmable with LED light, and you can write text. So when the stock price is doing amazing, like we reach $15, it can like run $15 on my face the whole episode. That's one upgrade that we can do. The party clothes.
Perfect. And then for the final question, this one's going to be a little tricky to answer. So I'm a lot newer to the content creation than you guys are, but I've been around long enough to know that a lot of the work that goes on behind the scenes is very different than from what the public ends up seeing. So the obvious answer to the question is everyone in the audience, but who comes to mind in particular when I ask who has made a positive contribution to the show over the past year?
I mean, for me, it's like
you can't just say Peter Beck.
Yeah. Okay, so we're not allowed to say Peter Beck and Adam Spice, but like you guys definitely, like Scotto, Matt, Dave G, and then there is like certain people in the audience, Curtis, Fool's Gold, Francisco, Christopher Bell, who has been here from the beginning, and a lot of you guys. I'm like, there's so many names I cannot name them all. Because it's also like there is very funny comments, like you guys bring your special viewpoints, and the whole show is not a one-man show.
Yeah, I would say it's nice. I'm not. I joke around. I say I'm never here really for the community. I'm here for the money, and hopefully I can help get people to make some money in the meantime, right? But at the same time, it is nice to have folks that make it fun, right? Like getting small gifts from Curtis was pretty fun. I thought he was going to try to send me anthrax, and I was like, do I want to give this guy my address? So, and then I was, I started having DMs with him. I was like, hearted. I don't think he's going to send me anthrax, and if he does, what a cool way to go out. So I was like, okay, what it is. But at the end of the day, it's really having that, I guess, proof of mind. And I think the thing that makes it beautiful is I'm not one to hype a stock just for the sake of it. I think I said that a little earlier, but it's the truth. And so it's nice to have that sense of realism within the chat, right? Where we're not just literally like, it's going to the moon just because, right? It's like, no, it's like we've done our research. We actually think we're onto something really, really great here. And we're not just trying to pump and dump a stock, and get rid of it and never talk about it again, right? I think a lot of us are really actually trying to do our due diligence and get into it. So I would say, the community, but at the end of the day, I think I can't say Peter, I can't say the people at Rocket Lab, then yeah, I guess I would, say interacting with everybody here, like Vince and you, Scott, and Dave, when he's able to show up, and the few people that really feed into the community and really hype us up, right? I mean, there's just an overall love that I haven't seen other than maybe Palantir for the stock, and I think we've all stumbled upon something that is going to be a generational type investment opportunity, and so it's fun to be involved.
Cool. All right. Well, Vince, Matt, and everyone in the audience, congratulations on the 1 year milestone. And thank you to everyone involved, whether it's on X, Discord, YouTube, and yes, even Reddit. So glasses up, and here's to year 2.
Cheers, everyone. Awesome. So let's go back to the regularly scheduled Rocket Lab Weekly, and we should look at the happenings of this week. So first of all, one thing that I'm sure everybody is aware, that Rocket Lab has touched $10 this week. We have had a crazy, unbelievable run. I clearly suck at short-term price predictions on stocks. I never thought that this would happen. I think, how do you call it? Based on the technicals, we are on overbought territory. You look at the RSI is pretty high, so it shouldn't be a pullback. It should not surprise anyone. But I don't know if you guys want to quickly just comment on the stock price, and then we move on from here to the news.
I don't think I'm allowed to comment on the share price anymore.
How do you mean?
Why is that? Oh, shit. Big Dick Dave.
What's up, Dave?
Dave Steering Wheel.
Dave Steering Wheel.
Well, yeah, why can't you comment, Scott?
Hey, Dave. I mean, I thought it was overvalued at 7, and here we are at 10. So,
look, we were right there with you. I mean, maybe not overvalued, but like it ran too fast. But
yeah, and in hindsight, like when I did trim, I was considering like a whole lot more, right? I was quite convinced that like it's way overbought. And I mean, even now I'm like, well, I thought it was overbought at 7, and now we're at 10. So I'm glad I didn't trim more, but I'd probably do the same thing again. So
yeah. I hope that you could be able to find a good spot to buy back in. I'm sure there will be.
And I ended up like within the same period adding to MDA and Redwire, and those are doing just fine as well. So it's not like I'm, not like I did some catastrophic thing and imploded the account or anything. Like it was a mild trim. So
yeah, I do want to say thank you, Julie, for becoming a member. That's really, really sweet of you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, it's one of those things where you find a great company, you find something like ASTS, and that's been running up and is still valued more than Rocket Lab here. And I think the potential for Rocket Lab to potentially blow off and go off into the $10 billion space is huge. And it's going to take time for sure, but at the same time, it's like I feel like it's almost inevitable, right? It's not like it's on their 5th launch; they're on their 53rd, So it's, and then you have a lot of other space systems, Neutron, Haste, all those avenues that are all coming into to ahead. So it's, I don't know. I agree with you. I feel like there will be a pullback, and I think that was evidenced by the blow off that we saw. It went to like $10, $10.30, and then it started coming down by like over $1. So it makes sense. So yeah.
Awesome. We have Dave G in the house.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. It sounds a little muffled, but
sounds like you're underwater, but we hear you.
Sorry. I'm on the phone, so setting. Yeah, it doesn't seem to work very well on the phone. Sorry about that.
Huh.
No problem. I know that you were busy today, and you made special effort to try to be on today. So much appreciated.
Can you?
And
yeah, that sounds way better.
Okay. I just tried changing the microphone settings. Is that any better or no?
A little bit better.
Okay.
So Dave, what can you comment on the stock price running up so fast? Are you going all in call options at this price? That's how we know you.
I'm not at this price. Yeah, I mean, great timing. Rocket Lab Weekly, 1 year. Everyone's in a great mood and stocks in a great place. Yeah, it all came together at a great time. So, just pretty happy about it. I have more than a double right now. I was previously, just because I mentioned I kind of wanted to buy some call options if the stock stayed lower, and then it didn't, obviously. So currently I'm waiting for a pullback, personally. I see a lot of people out there still buying though. So I mean, that's just me.
What's your wife thinking, Dave?
I was just going to ask that.
So yeah, she's kind of regretting her stock sale, obviously, but she personally does feel like it will still, over the next, say, call it 3 months, it may pull back to, 5.5, 6. But yeah, I think she just tends to look at the charts and doesn't think as much about the macro situation and the fact that interest rates are falling and all that kind of stuff. So, we may have entered a different situation here.
I'm not smart enough to follow charts. Like, I'm probably the dumbest one in this conversation. So when it comes to that, I'm not gonna like buy based off of a chart. I'm just gonna buy based off the news that I see and what I think the inherent value or the future value of the organization is going to be. And
well, I don't think that makes it stupid. Sorry to interrupt, but I think that's a smart way of doing things.
I mean, some people are really good with the charts, right? I'm not smart enough. And my brother-in-law talks to me about charts all the time, and my eyes glaze over, and I'm just like, I like the stock. Like, I don't know, like that sounds very like deep fucking value, to say, or Rowan Kitty to say, but it's the truth, like it doesn't make sense to me to kind of evaluate off a chart, because charts work until they don't, and then you can't really use them. So, and like I said, I'm not the smartest when it comes to that stuff.
My philosophy is make sure you love the company, and then once you know that you want to buy it, you can maybe use the chart to look for an ideal entry point. But I wouldn't buy something just solely looking at its chart and saying like this is a head and shoulders pattern or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so I think now we can start with the news that happened this week, and we have 2 Canadians with us, and the Canadian Space Agency happened to give a fantastically big $999,279 contract to Rocket Lab. Sorry?
900,000, I think.
Yeah, 900,000. Okay, exactly. So can the Canadians tell us what is this contract about? Is this a sign of every time there's these small contracts, I'm like, okay, the foot is in the door and maybe there is like bigger contracts coming down the line? Am I thinking correctly, or what is this?
What do you think, Dave? I think you know more than I do on these.
To be honest, small contract like this, I remember looking at it. I didn't look at it in depth, and now I'm on the phone and I can barely read what's on the screen. So it's a little tough.
I don't think it's anything too of consequence though. Like it sounds like it's more like an R&D contract, and maybe in a couple of years it'll lead to something more, but it didn't seem too consequential from what I've gathered.
This is Star Trackers, right? If I remember correctly?
Yeah, that's right.
It's just Star Trackers, yeah.
So I guess they're just trying to, research something about improving their next-gen Star Tracker, and if I recall correctly, making them able to handle harsh environments better. So it's not a huge deal, but maybe their next-gen product will be a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and on this note, there is a similar contract that they have gotten, but this time it was from NASA, and I don't know why I don't find the tweet about it, but I'm sure you guys have heard it, which was also I think it was also a sub $1 million contract to study sample return from Mars.
I thought this was really cool. I didn't, because I remember hearing about this, and NASA was kind of like soliciting ideas for studies on how to get these samples back from Mars, and I really didn't ever think Rocket Lab would be in the mix for that, but very cool. And if somehow their ideas, come to fruition, that'd really be something. I always figured it's kind of like more of a Starship type thing.
Say that again. That it's more of a Starship.
Like it may be better suited for a Starship type mission.
Yeah.
I think it's likely a new avenue that they're potentially looking at, right? Is some of these things that mostly we focus on satellites in the past, but actually doing some further deep dive research like that. Could this be that another end-to-end space piece that we haven't really seen as of yet?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the building industry, right? And then whenever we build new projects and we have to calculate the price of what certain things are going to cost, like it has to go through engineers, and then like we have to basically even pay to get an offer. Like you have to pay the engineers to draw out where the electrical lines are going to go in the building, and then you can get an offer from the building company on how they can build it. And I got this idea that maybe the reason why they're getting these contracts is because it's so expensive to put engineers to actually sit down and plan like how Rocket Lab could retrieve samples from Mars. And then NASA basically fronts these costs to Rocket Lab, and then maybe if they do work out a way that is viable, then maybe we're going to see neutrons bringing back samples from Mars. I don't know. I kind of doubt it, but it wouldn't surprise me either. Okay.
Very good. I will say it's been a lot of fun. I help out a little bit in Chris Patel's Discord as well, and there's a whole channel in there, and I know Dave's got his whole Discord, and it's really nice to be able to see a lot of the DMs. And even if it does pull back a little bit, right? I do think there's this move warrants a pullback, but I think in the long term, what I like to see is that you have so many people very convicted in the position, and I believe we're on to a holding a once in a generational sort of opportunity here, and I think it's going to pay people huge dividends in the next 2 to 3 years. So I've already received DMs from people that have 6-figure returns just based off of what we've seen to date, and I feel like we're still very early on in this company's history. So congrats to everybody in the community. Just recognize that there is volatility piece to this as well, especially the new folks that have kind of come in over the past 3-4 months. The stock doesn't always go up. There will be pullbacks. And with that, you really just think about what you really want out of this opportunity, right? If you've made your 100% and you don't want to stick around for if there's a retracement by 20, 30%, you think it'll kill you, it's okay to take profits, and it's not going to be the end of the world. But somebody like myself, I'm waiting for something that's going to be more in the $25 billion range before I really take any true profits. So just recognize what you're investing in fits into your investment schedule and thesis, and don't necessarily shy away from that, because you can't get hurt taking a profit.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm not selling any shares right now. And I don't really plan to in the near future. But I have kind of come across on Twitter, some people seem to feel like it's heresy to consider selling your shares. And I'm just thinking, maybe they need to buy a house. Maybe there's something going on. Like everyone's situation is different. So, you always need to be more cool-headed about it.
I'm one of those people, but I'm always jokingly do it. Like, I'm completely fine with people selling their shares, because there's so many, as you said, live situations. What I don't like is that when people sell the shares because the price has like run, like what I mean by this is, like, if the thesis is intact and you bought it for 10 years and you think it's going to 25 billion in market cap like Matt, then why sell the position just because it ran a little bit? Like, if you need to buy a beach house or a yacht or a private island like Matt, and like that was planned, that if it reaches this price, I'm fine with people taking chips off the table. But just because I don't know, like I feel like people that way punish their their winners, and it doesn't help the portfolio in the long run.
Yeah, I'm letting it ride.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so we go to the next news, and that is a new launch license filing for a new haste launch in December, and this is in addition to the previously filed one for November. I quickly looked at Rocket Lab's lineup that they, Scotto is going to be awesome on this, that they provided us in Q3 with, and it had 2 haste launches, one in Q3 and one in Q4. We know obviously that in Q3 they're not going to have a haste launch, so I guess that the Q3 one just went into Q4, and that's the 2 that we're seeing. So the only significance that I can see on this is that, you know, the haste is getting going now, and we are finally going to see this section of Electron, you know, actually start launching. But what do you guys? I know you guys are way more into haste than I am.
Hold on. Breaking news apparently, and hopefully they're not trolling us, that the Hotfire just dropped on X. Oh shit, it's real.
Are you kidding? Okay, we need
Let's
to watch
go.
this together.
Sorry to completely just derail the conversation, but
no problem. It has
it's a nice 2-minute video. Oh, it's a juicy one. I'm not hearing it yet, but
amazing,
dude.
Wow.
This is like when I watched Palantir go to like $36 after hours.
Can you guys share the screen, and then maybe we, or it's no. Do you guys?
I can
hear
share
this?
Not a problem. No.
We don't hear, but we can see.
Is there sound?
I mean,
is there sound on the video?
There is sound on, not, I don't hear your sound, but there is sound on the original video.
but even just seeing the video, like, this is amazing. Now that one before didn't look like full power, but this one where the flames are kind of coming out and even expanding around the nozzle there looks very impressive.
I'm going to lower the sound because they're not talking on this video, so we can just comment on it. So in your face, whoever was spreading this freaking myth about the engine blowing up and the hot
Only
fire
a few
going...
seconds.
Yeah. Okay, this warrants a...
Who knows, right? This could have been, you know, a couple days ago. You know, to me it's all hearsay sometimes. That I don't know. Sometimes I think people are, oh, that's a pretty one at night.
I
Look at that blue.
feel very good about the progress on Neutron right now. That's all I'll say.
This is beautiful.
Wow. It's almost as beautiful as seeing Vince every Saturday. Look at that. Holy crap. Look at all those blues. That's insane. That's a beautiful looking. Man, imagine 9 of those things. Dude, you guys are getting me fired up. This video is getting me fired up. All right.
Me too. I honestly think that this is part of the reason of the recent stock price moving up, because I was surprised how confident Adam and Peter Beck sounded after the hot fire test, and in the interviews that they were giving, and you know, Adam Spice being on the conferences, and Peter Beck, how he was tweeting back and forth with the Relativity CEO. And I was like, there's just no way that the engine blew up. And Peter Beck is like sitting on this withheld information and at the same time like trolling other you know, rocket CEOs. I'm like, that's not him.
Yeah.
So at what point in that video was the catastrophic explosion? I must have missed that.
It's CGI, you know, like
my bad.
This is why they're not showing one video. It's each time the engine blew up, they cut off that part, and then it's a new engine every time.
Oh, okay.
Are you sure it's not just a deep fake, guys? Maybe this is you know, Chat GPT generated or whatever.
I'm actually no.
I'm rewatching it on myself.
Okay, it's
That's
so
insane.
beautiful. Maybe we can just put it on again, and then we can just continue with the episode. We can still comment on it.
They couldn't have asked for better timing, hey?
Right.
Jeez.
I think Papa Pete knows.
Yeah.
Oh my God, thank you.
There's some, so I mean, there's some where it's obviously slowed down because you can see like the particles, like the ice chips moving off. But the ones where it's really far away, those when it's blowing like the entire dust trail and everything, you can see it's definitely not slowed down. Like that's slowed down.
A question: when it's burning red, because isn't methane supposed to burn like a bluish something? Like, is it a temperature thing, or are they testing different fuels? Or
I'm not that smart.
Where is Dave Huntsman when you need it? He should be good on these things.
You can I see blue in a lot of this stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It has. You see, this one is more like the methane that, like, I remember.
I think it just depends on how much thrust they're giving it, right?
Yeah, maybe. And yeah, so many things.
Like that one's pretty blue.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like when they crank it up, then it becomes blue.
Yeah. Dude, just imagine 9 of those. Jesus.
Oh,
that's pretty big. It's a pretty big engine.
Yeah. Okay, how cool is this that there's these stupid allegations going, and then they don't even answer them, they just release this video.
Yeah, I guess we don't really need to talk about that that 200-page report anymore, hey?
Yeah, I had it on the lineup here, but maybe Dave, because you like, I tried to go after the report, and apparently it was like removed from Discord or something. I never.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, someone told me that they can email it to me from their work computer because they saved it there, but it was like they couldn't find it anymore on Discord.
I guess, Dave, I'm sure you have it too. One of us can send it to you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it can work.
So Vince, because you're inept in getting sound to work, share my screen because the last like 30 seconds, you can actually hear the engine itself.
Okay, here we go.
And it's not music.
I'm gonna turn it up.
Just a few seconds, you know?
I mean, we're investors, but nerds also.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, those easy 20 seconds right there.
Yeah, I would like to see, because what does it need, Scotto? It's like a minute and 20 seconds or something like that?
Something like
I
that,
don't remember.
I think.
Yeah. That's
we can watch an Electron launch and where they have Miko, but it is usually, I think, maybe 2 minutes. It is usually.
Somebody said Rocket Lab to 12 on Monday. I don't know. It gets you to think. Yeah, hot Dave, man. It gets me to think, like, at what point is the value too brought forward, right? Like, if it went to $25 tomorrow, would I be like, oh, it's a little early, right? And I would probably sell. You know, it makes you think, like, when things like this comes out, like, how's it going to be perceived? And at some point, you just kind of have to be like Palantir. I think the same thing. I'm like $37 for Palantir. I'm like, you know, that how many years ahead of actual valuation are you? Like, are you looking at fiscal year 27, 2028? And I start to think about the same when this thing starts to look in like the 20 to 25 range.
Look at this conspiracy that just dropped now. Hard to believe that this was just a consequence that they released the exact time the 4 leading Rocket Lab YouTubers are live. Yeah, they're supporting us. So thank you, Rocket Lab, for the timing.
Yeah, very cool.
If it was intentional, it was very much appreciated.
Yeah.
So
Just,
Matt, yeah, go ahead,
you can
Dave.
go ahead. Okay. Just about the valuation thing. Again, no plans to sell my shares anytime soon. Reminds me a little bit of Tesla, like, because I don't know, I'm a huge fan of the company, but you also have to have an investor hat with the valuation if it did go super crazy. When Tesla went to like 400, I was really just, I don't know, I wasn't as deep into the valuations, and I just figured I'd hold on. Now I wish I'd kind of trimmed a bit because it still hasn't retraced. But ultimately, I do still like that company and think FSD could, drive more profits. But yeah, it's a difficult decision everyone will have to make when they, I think the stock's going to do even better after this. So we'll see.
Do you guys think that this is why we saw that kind of a bit of a run? Do you think this is maybe leaked to a few people early?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that they have said that the hot fire tests are done, right? So this is not like new news. And where I feel I was wrong on the valuation is, like, my logic was that they're going to do the hot fire test, and then that opens the door that they can close neutron contracts, and then they're going to announce neutron contracts. That will be a catalyst, and then the actual first flight of the neutron is going to be a second catalyst. But instead, what I think is happening is that Wall Street is actually saying that, okay, Peter is a 1 in a million engineer, and they successfully did the hot fire test, and that was the long pole in the tent. And now, like, the budget is kind of going to be like, you can nail it down, and the time you can kind of nail it down. And I think that there's a trust that, okay, they're going to pull it off on this timeline. And then I think a lot of risk because of this is, like, the perception of risk has left the stock, and I think that it allowed it to rally much higher. This is my opinion where I went wrong.
Yeah, personally, I also thought the rally was going to be much stronger. Like, we might have to wait, for Neutron launch for a big rally, but it definitely happened quicker than I was expecting.
Yeah. And then I think a second thing, I'm curious about this, guys, because I know all of our valuation models, and none of us really give a value to the satellite constellation in Rocket Lab, right? And I feel that ASTS out of the blue completely blew up. And then I kind of agree with this, that, when you do the valuation, you go for the for sure thing. But then when you have a company with zero revenue having $8 billion valuation because they're going to do a constellation, I'm like, is it still prudent to give zero value to Rocket Lab's constellation when they're, like, having all the pieces almost ready to do a constellation? And I think that is also a change in the valuation of Rocket Lab, that because, I mean, like, Rocket Lab is still not worth as much as ASTS, and they are purely valued on the constellation, right? And Rocket Lab has rocket launch, space systems, and they're going to have a constellation.
Yeah, I'm curious, Scott. I think you have the most in-depth spreadsheet. Are you projecting, like, space systems revenues out 5 years, or no?
No,
None of that?
Nothing for the data side of anything yet, just because I don't want to just be like, oh, it's probably Earth observation and give it some, like, Planet Labs or Black Sky like valuation, and then turns out it's like something completely different. It's almost like it's just the space systems for what we have currently, and then the launch, and even that is, like, a reasonable end for the decade as far as price targets and whatnot.
Yeah, that's a good point, though, because, like, my entire valuation can, I feel justify, like, a pretty strong valuation without space applications at all. So how do we add in that space applications piece in the?
I don't have an answer on that. I'm just saying that it's sort of weird that, like, I know none of us give, like, I think all of our fair value on Rocket Lab is between $8 to $10, right? And I know that all of us give zero value to the Constellation, and then there is another company that has zero revenue, and they are 8 billion in valuation. And I'm like, the truth should be somewhere in between. Like maybe the valuation that we give to the Constellation, maybe it shouldn't zero. I don't think it should be 8 billion. I have no clue what it should be, but probably not zero.
Sorry to interrupt you guys. I've seen. Oh, sorry. Can you say that again, Dave? I was kind of off topic.
I was just gonna say, like, I think it's something we need to start thinking more about over the next, couple of years. But very difficult from our point of view because we don't know enough.
Yeah,
I think I don't know. I still have this belief that I think many people believe it's going to be one single acquisition that's going to lead to this constellation that just magically shows up. But I think it's going to be a bolt-on of several companies, right? I mean, Black Sky's, headed for troubled waters. You have Velo 3D headed for troubled waters. You have a lot of companies in the next 6 months to a year that are really, I hate to say it, but are they even going to be around beyond that? And so with that, it could very well be that you see Rocket Lab do something comparable to what they did with Virgin Orbit in 2023 and pick up things for 16 to 30 cents on the dollar. And, I think everyone is just assuming it's going to be some sort of large acquisition that is happening while the company's in operations. And I think they recognize that this is still a very dog-eat-dog world, and still a lot of people are having trouble getting funding unless they're on a good trajectory like a Rocket Lab. And even Rocket Lab has to come creative with their debt structuring to be able to get the $300 million that they did earlier this year. So I don't know. I'm still a believer in that. Who knows? I could be wrong, right? They could find a company that's worth $100 million to readily bolt on, but I think it's going to be a multitude of different things, the best of many different companies that they bolt together, just like they've done for their space systems business, right? They didn't buy one company that became the entire space systems business. They bought, a lot of different companies for pennies on the dollar here or there, and really made it into something that, as a whole, is something that's worth billions of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, definitely very true for Virgin Orbit. I don't necessarily think, Solera or Sinclair were as distressed, but they were very good purchases.
Yeah, I'm on the same viewpoint that the Constellation is probably, like everybody is thinking, it's one big constellation. And I mean, from the recent interviews, it seems quite clear that it could be that they acquire a Constellation company. It could be that they get hired to, or like they partner with a company that does constellations, which I think would be ideal from a CapEx viewpoint, because then it would be very little CapEx from Rocket Lab. And I think that if they were missing money for the Constellation, it would be very easy to take a loan on it, as opposed to diluting shareholders, because you can loan against the contract if the customer is someone like Apple, and I think it will be many constellations that they will have, and it's potentially a second buying opportunity for us if they don't communicate correctly about it, and they are not giving projections in the future, and we will be sitting here and, guys, this is a very big opportunity, and all of Wall Street just misses it.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I quickly just want to run through the last news because we got sidetracked by this hot fire. So we had the haste launches. It looks like there's going to be a special Bloomberg edition from Rocket Lab headquarters. Let me see if I'm sharing my screen. I'm not. Of course, I'm not sharing my screen. Here we go. Do you guys think this is a potential catalyst, or what do you guys think that this is? It's kind of out of the blue for me.
I have a theory. If you guys want to put on some tinfoil hats for a quick moment,
let's do that.
It was like maybe a day before this was announced, That's when the stock price started moving on like no news. And granted, you have like the rates and all that. But as far as I can remember, Rocket Lab is never, they're always like the show and tell kind of company. They've never been like, hey, we're going to go to a place and we're going to have a live presentation. So tune in, check it out. They're always just like, hey, we did the thing. Here's the result. So this kind of has me wondering if maybe this is some sort of like somebody at Bloomberg or wherever caught wind and they're like, oh, we're going to Rocket Lab headquarters and they're going to host us and they're going to announce whatever it's going to be. To kind of take it a step further too, Rocket Lab headquarters is it's like mission control and like satellite manufacturing is a quick way to think about it. So this has me wondering if maybe it is something a little bit more, what's that, 0%, Vince?
Yeah. Some people were saying I'm drinking on the show, and I'm like, it's alcohol free.
I would be having one if I was at home.
so that's all I'm thinking is like maybe somebody knows something, and maybe this event could tie to that.
Yeah. Matt or Dave, any comments on this one?
No, I think it's a good point. Yeah, very often companies will do that, right? They'll have some sort of announcement around earnings or when they have larger conversations like this. And honestly, I haven't seen many. I mean, I've seen Peter show up on CNBC every once in a while, but it's very infrequent.
And they don't pre-announce it ever, though, hey?
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, you're right. 100%.
Yeah, this is very unusual. This is their headquarters from New Zealand, right? Not in the U.S.?
No, this is the U.S., yeah.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Actually, I should say it definitively. I'm like 90% sure. I'm quite sure that it was the US. Can you scroll down a little bit, Vince? I thought it was, or no, if they're just calling it Rocket Lab HQ, I'm pretty sure that's what they call the place in.
Also, it's 11 a.m. New York time and 8 a.m. And if it was in New Zealand, it would be some weird US time. So
okay.
So that's just before market open, right? For San Francisco.
No, 11 New York. Market opens 9 New York.
Okay.
Okay, so
I look forward to it.
Yeah, we keep an eye out on that one. Okay, next one. I want to hear Scott about this return of Pad A and its mic. And there's a sound, but yeah, we heard a lot of much more exciting rocket engine sound than our old Rutherford. So was the Pad A the one that they have been renovating and was offline?
Yeah, the last time we saw a launch from Pad A was July of 2022. So it's been off for more than 2 years. It's those tanks went missing for a little bit. I think that was tied to some maybe testing for Neutron. And since then, they've kind of put everything back together, run some upgrades. And it seems like it's just in time for what's going to hopefully be a very busy Q4.
Yeah, exactly. More on that in a bit. Then here's a next interesting one. So apparently, Rocket Lab has completed the second spacecraft for Varda Space. So this is good news because it's just before Q3. So there's going to be a nice revenue recognition on that, I believe. And this needs to be launched and operated in space. So there's a lot of exciting things coming from this. I don't know if there's any more to this news other than this. I don't know if you guys have any comments to add.
No, just that it's... Go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say, I hope this one shouldn't get stuck in orbit quite as long as that last one. But I think they've secured their re-entry permits ahead of time this time. So,
actually, I think I have it. Oh no, it just says landing in Australia for the second one, but that is expecting to launch in early November on Transporter 12. It might have got pushed back because I noticed they don't actually say the date there. So November, we'll call it, give or take, is when we can expect that to leave Earth.
Yeah. Very cool little spacecraft.
Awesome. The next one, this one is a long episode, guys. So Adam Spice was on a conference with Deutsche Bank, and I think he he's really good. I don't know, like he's one of the best CEOs that I've ever heard talk. For example, like Palantir, I only hear the CEO on their earnings calls. And I think that Adam has a very, like, you know, when Peter speaks, it's like dreams and the big goal. And Adam is very like methodical, like this is like 1 + 1 is 2, how we're getting it done. And he said some very interesting things. For example, one of them was to that they're looking to partner maybe with Constellation providers, maybe that they will acquire a Constellation. Did you guys listen to this, and what was your key takeaways from this conference?
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting. He spoke about getting into the Constellation business through inorganic means, so it could be acquisitions or partnering with other companies, and potentially, you know, not just having like one Constellation doing one thing, but trying multiple different things, which, you know, we talk so much about what's the Constellation, but now it kind of changes the thought process. I'm like, oh, they could try a couple different options here.
Yeah. And also he gave an idea there that he said that the opportunities is not in the tens of millions, like they want the hundreds of millions revenue opportunity, and preferably much higher. That was his words.
And that'll be like super high margins too, like 100 million with 80% margin. I mean, that's like straight to bottom line pretty well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe based on this comment alone, we can add something carefully into our valuations. I don't know. And an Earth observation, you guys follow. Is that 100 million revenue per year business?
What's Planet doing these days, Scott?
I'm just looking now. So Planet's most recent.
I mean, Earth observation.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just going to say they're at 240 for revenue. That's the current run rate that they're at, and Black Sky is at.
I think they just got 100, right?
100. Yeah.
100. Yeah, it's a wide.
Go up quite a bit though for Black Sky.
Yeah. I still stand by thinking that Earth observation would not be like the primary or the biggest thing they end up going after. Just doesn't seem like it's as good of a fit to me.
Yeah, same here. Cool. Now we go to the next one, which is that Adam Spice was at yet another conference, KeyBank, and I don't manage to get a link to this to see what was said here. But after he was there, they raised the price target of the stock to $11 from $8, I believe, was their previous target. So I'm very curious if any one of you was able to hear what Adam Spice said, or if you guys have any links to this, or you also got the same news as me.
I haven't seen anything. No.
I will say with analysts, there seems to be a bit of an element of, you know, following the stock movement to like make sure they're still with it. But I'm sure they liked what they heard from Adam. I don't doubt that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. There is one news. Let me just write to our special guest who is going to come on. And then there is one last news. So here we go. I don't know if you guys have seen it. SpaceX is having a pretty heavy disagreement with the FAA, and SpaceX basically chose to go very public with their complaints, and they listed out the exact disagreements that they had with the FAA. And I read these, and it's pretty damning. I mean, keep in mind that we have only heard SpaceX's side of this story. Like, the FAA has not posted what exactly was going on in their viewpoint. And the reason why I think that this is pertinent to Rocket Lab is because Rocket Lab will need to get the same license agreements from the FAA, and if they really suck at the job and they're not equipped to, handle the new space age's traffic, it's going to really slow down Rocket Lab as well. So I just wanted to hear your guys' take on this, and yeah.
I'm surprised they went quite so public with it, and I'm sure it doesn't help their relationship, but I do think the FAA probably needs more resources. It makes me appreciate Rocket Lab's complex in New Zealand a lot more, because they have much less red tape and they own it themselves, and so many different launch opportunities, even compared to their Wallops pad for Electron. So, I definitely appreciate it more the more you read about these regulations and stuff.
Yeah. Matt, any comments on this one?
I'm with Dave. I'm just curious to see why they're I guess pushing so much back. I think it's one of those things where I believe in regulation, but I think everything should be working with a regulator, not necessarily working against. And sometimes it seems like the FAA wants to be working with, and then sometimes it seems like they want to be working against. And so this just seems like one of those times where they're trying to, I don't know, stand up for something. Anyway.
You mean like politics, or?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what it is, It's just, it seemed like, for example, when they had the issues a couple of weeks ago with the failed landing of one of the Falcon 9 boosters, that within a couple of days they were up and running again, no problem. But then with this, it just seems like they're kind of blowing it out of proportion.
Yeah. And it's like, for me, the weirdest thing is that he did this. The FAA administrator did a congressional testimony, and then apparently this is what SpaceX alleges, is that all the information that he gave to Congress was basically false. And then SpaceX is saying that it's really worrisome that he either doesn't have access to data about SpaceX, or he's lying about SpaceX, and then it's like, which one is it? Like, you have to decide. And when they list it out, it's crazy. Like the FAA, claiming that SpaceX didn't have a license to launch, and then they did have a license to launch. I mean, like, how can you? I don't know. It's pretty damning when you read this letter. Scott,
it makes me wonder too. Like, I know we try to avoid politics on the show, but it makes me wonder, like, with Elon's some of the things that he's doing or saying, like, I can't help but feel like it's going to benefit Rocket Lab in a huge way. And I think especially depending which party it ends up being, if it's not one compared to the other, I think Elon is in a lot of, like, a really tough spot. Yeah. He's pretty much completely buttered up one side, and if that side doesn't come to fruition, he's going to have a lot of issues with this kind of stuff over the next few years. I can't help but feel. And it sucks for Elon, and it's more so for, like, when you say Elon, a lot of people are just like, well, fuck that guy. But you got to remember, there's like 100,000 people working below him that are all going to be affected. And they are, much like Rocket Lab employees, they just want to make the world better, right? They're not out here trying to push anything. I'm not saying that Elon is, but I just think it's important to keep in mind that, like, regardless of your disposition towards Elon, it's important to keep in mind that a lot of people are affected underneath him. So,
yeah. Cool. I mean, while we're waiting on the special guest, because we're basically done with all the news, Scotto, do you think, like, there's a lot of news about Black Sky that has happened? I tried to do a little research on them. I don't feel qualified to speak on this, but as far as I understand, they had a reverse stock split
Yeah.
It's like they said they have enough money, and then they did a reverse stock split, and then they announced the capital raise, and then they tanked, and then they got a new contract, and then so what's happening, and why does Curtis hate them so much?
Well,
He really does.
he does. I mean, there's so much to say. One of Curtis's prominent talking points is the compensation for the management. They have awarded themselves $80 million in stock-based compensation from the time that they went public till now. And by comparison, their market cap is a lot less. Where is that? It's like falling off the cliff. 136 million. So again, that was 80 million compared to 136. Haven't?
So they awarded themselves like 70% of the company?
Like something like that. And I know it's not like the cleanest way to look at like stock-based compensation compared to market cap, but it's just a kind of a testament of like how much they've given themselves compared to like the cliff that the stock has fallen off.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I'm sure when those awards happened, the stock or the company was worth a lot more than it is now. Or at least
if you look at it at a chart, like since Q2 of 2022, everything has been just kind of like flatlined. So it's like it was just everything up front, like when they first came public, where they just really padded their pockets to begin with. And it doesn't look so bad going forward. But then, I mean, recently there's been like a whole shit show of like at the reverse stock split, and then like during the earnings call, which was on August 8th, they mentioned that they don't have to raise. I want to get accurate. I want to give them benefit of the doubt. Together with the vendor financing, this is I believe the CEO, somebody from the call, the CEO or the CFO, but they're quoted. Together with the vendor financing, this is Rocket Lab. The vendor financing is for the first 4 launches out of the contract of 5 with Black Sky. So of that, that they have for their upcoming Gen 3 launches and the adjusted EBITDA improvements, they expect to continue delivering. We believe we have sufficient liquidity for the foreseeable future. And then less than 1 month later, they have now diluted shareholders by what ended up being 55%. So their share count from Q2, was 18 million shares, and now we're looking somewhere, depending on the dilution, of course, 30 million. And that's all, and that's kind of giving the investors the confidence of like, don't worry, we got enough money, we're good. And suddenly it's just like, rug pull of the century. So
it's brutal.
But I think every company says they're good before a dilution event.
Yeah, and like to be fair, like he's not going to go on the call and just be like, "Yeah, we're about to dilute everyone. Hope like brace for impact," right? But
like no one goes on the call and says, we're running out of money. Like even before Rocket Lab raised, they weren't, not that they really needed to raise at that time, I guess, but they weren't saying that they needed to raise.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we have a very special guest here that I want to announce. He is the one who almost sent anthrax to Matt Money, and he is a very big part of the community. It's Curtis himself. What's up, Curtis?
Hey, guys. Hey.
What's up, BD Curtis?
Just
I like your shirt.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah. First of all, I'm not Peter Beck, so sorry to everybody in the chat, but Peter Beck's not here. And I'm not here to talk about Black Sky, but I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it offline, man. I just have some opinions. Anyway, but hey, I just wanted to let everybody know, how much, everybody appreciates what Vince has done here. 52 weeks in a row, man. That is completely awesome. And Rocket Lab has built a community, and, similar to Palantir and whatnot, other companies don't have this. Redwire, Scotto, if you've looked into it, Redwire doesn't have a community like this at all. But, it's stuff like this, 52 weeks of Rocket Lab Weekly, This is critical for what we all do. Number one, I don't care who else makes money or who loses money. It's all about, if I make money. That's why I'm here. But this community is what gives us all the information that we all can make our decisions with. Scotto does stuff that I'm not going to do. I'm not going to sit there and hammer spreadsheets for hours on end. I think that's the most boring thing in life. Matt, he just invests in Rocket Mortgage, so I don't know what's going on there. And Geraldo down here, Dave, I'll tell you what, man. Yesterday, Dave, that was epic. And you got my beer subscription on that one, man. So yeah, I wanted to say some, congratulations to Vince, and congratulations to all you guys for what you do for the community on YouTube. I mean, it's awesome. Cheers to you.
You're the man.
Yeah, I wish I had my drink with me.
Yeah, thank you so much for the kind words, Curtis, and we also really appreciate you.
I'm sorry, Dave. I
was just saying thanks for the package as well. It's great.
Oh, no problem.
Thanks for not killing me with anthrax. Yeah,
no problem. And also, as a thank you for all the guys that have their YouTube channels for Rock Lab, you all got one of these coming your way.
You're so awesome.
I saw you. I was like, where the hell did he get that? Because I saw you take notes yesterday, and I was like, that's really cool. I was like, I wondered if you bought that from the store.
No, I made it, man.
That's awesome.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again. I appreciate it all.
Thanks, Curtis. Take care.
You're the man.
Thanks for coming on. Yeah, ciao.
Love the hat as always, man. That hat is epic. I don't have something as cool as that. That hat is Curtis is the man.
Yeah, he is. I mean, look, the community, because it's like we're just sitting at home, like talking to the camera, and obviously, like I have very good chemistry with you guys. But if the audience wasn't there, it would be like 80% of the fun, gone from this game. So, and Curtis is definitely someone who, I really appreciate everything he does for the Rocket Lab community. So, big thank you.
Yeah.
It's funny. You're also, Scott, you're also wearing his merch. I am. Yeah. And Matt, I think there's one on the way to you. No, you haven't received yet his.
No, package. I got my package. Yeah, it's just I always leave it downstairs. I need to bring it upstairs.
Okay. And Dave, you're not. I know that you're at a party or something, so it would maybe not have been appropriate. But
yeah, no, we were out playing baseball, so. I just finished that, but I have it at home. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I was thinking we can finish off with maybe some questions from the audience if you guys want to ask us something. And I don't know if you guys want anything to say. In finishing.
No, just thanks for having me on. I've been, watching you guys since pretty much the beginning, right? And it's cool to have gone from being a viewer to participating in these videos. You guys have been very hospitable and very very friendly. It's much appreciated.
Yeah, the same.
You all bring a different lens to the table for sure.
And as you said, thanks to the viewers, because without them and the interaction, it really keeps things going.
Everybody's talking about their package. Yeah. What do you expect, Adam? It's 4 guys. I was going to say that I never expected that the 4 of us would do an interview on Adam's, interview Adam Spice and Peter Beck together. That's yeah. I mean, I was telling my wife, and it's so funny that I speak with my family, and it's like I'm gonna have an interview with Peter Beck, and they're like, who is he? Why is that? But I mean, for the people that know, he goes on CNBC and Bloomberg is doing a video with them, and then he comes on our little channels. It's okay. My channel is little, but Dave and Matt, they're much bigger than me. But yeah,
all our channels are little. Yeah, it's cool. I talk to people I know in real life, and they're like, who's that? And then I talk to you guys. Oh my God, we're talking to Peter Beck, and it's it's very different.
Yeah, I was so nervous on the first interview. I couldn't sleep at night, and then the whole day I was like, oh my God, how the? And then when he came on the first interview, I started asking the question, and then my internet cut out, and then And Matt, you were on that interview, and then it's like I just see my computer black and like loading, and I'm like, what the fuck? The worst possible timing. Anyways,
well, it's been a lot of fun, man. Yeah, I agree with what Hot Dave said. I mean, originally I started doing these videos, I don't know how many years ago, 7-8 years ago, 2016, 2017, just to kind of like document my investing progress in case I got hit by a bus, which is still likely the case, how I'm going to go out. But you know, but at the end of the day, it became more about people actually cared about what I was posting, right? I was just putting it on the internet in case of that reason, right? And my family members were like, what the hell is Matt doing investing in all these random companies? And it really turned into something more. And I'd say that the reason why I do and continue to do YouTube isn't for the money. It's the partnerships that I'm able to develop with you guys and learn from. And with that, I mean, I've been able to make, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars in that respect, like learning from Chris Patel and you know, you guys, as well as Amit, and then also Steve Fiorillo, and you know, being able to meet all these different people and see all their different opportunities and get to interact with them. It's definitely a blessing, and should not be taken lightly, because everybody that I've met, with the handful of, I guess, a few select people, have all been really awesome. And you guys are definitely a top tier group of individuals for sure.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. It's been a fantastic first year. I say a toast to lots of years to come, and yeah, lots of new highs on the stock price. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Yeah. Ciao, everyone.
See you guys for 53.
Yeah.